Alright, welcome to the shade tree. We are back at it again on the old 55 Willys. Finally got the engine on the engine stand. I went online, couldn't find any type of a adapter plate. So I had a bunch of these brackets, heavy duty brackets left over from the trailer jacks that we tried to do our redneck body lift on, and worked out pretty good. It's kind of redneck. They're working out pretty good for holding this thing up, but I did go online and try to find the right adapter before I did anything redneck. So I got the water pump off, only managed to break 3 bolts. Luckily there's enough left down there that we may be able to heat that up and turn them out. Working on taking the oil pan off now and see what lies beneath. There's the other part of that dipstick. Broke right off in there. So you don't look too bad, I mean, all things considered. That. Yeah, baby. Cam looks pretty good. We'll clean that oil screen off there. All in all, not too bad. I don't think it looks too bad. I think we're just gonna have to do the freshen up kit on it, and we'll be good to go. We got a little bit of sludge in there. Yeah. But not overly bad. I mean, I've seen worse than that. We'll be all right. We'll get her all cleaned up and slap her back together. Alright, it's been a few days since we've been out here messing with the old 55. We got our new yoke puller in the mail. Let's see if we can pull this yoke off here with that. But I gotta tell you that I have my doubts. Look how cheap that is. It's bent already. Well, so you're gonna break right in half. I'm gonna call that another failure. I can't believe how cheaply stuff is made nowadays. It just amazes me. But you can see it with your own 2 eyes. That yoke should not be that hard to come off. I don't know what the deal is, but about ready to throw the towel in on this thing. Well, I told you off this Jeep didn't cooperate. We're gonna do something different. We have trailer in tow. We're going to pick up the chassis, man. All right, so as you can see, transfer case is gone. Transmission is gone. We have cleaned up. I've had enough with that. I reached my breaking point with that transfer case. It's done. I can't the only way to get that yoke off is to break it. And if I broke the case, you're looking at $2,000, $1,700 for a new transfer case. It's just not worth it to me. We're set up now with a brake, bead roller. I've been working on the old flatheads. Got her spruced up a little bit, threw a quick paint job on her, rattle can restoration. We're going to throw it all back together. I'm going to throw it in that chassis along with the transmission. Actually, I'm going to rebuild the transmission. It needs a new input shaft, but I can't afford to do it right now. But After we get the Willys all done, we're going to rebuild that transmission. I'm just going to throw the transfer case or what's left of it and all the parts in with that chassis, and we're going to get rid of that chassis to a Jeep guy. Somebody that can appreciate it, because I cannot. I'm done with it. Here she is, our donor vehicle for the 55 Willys. It's a 1999 Chevy S10. Comes with the torque thrusts. We have enough metal in this bed to repair our bed in the Willys, which is great. It's a 5-speed. Got the fancy radio. Interior is nothing to speak of. It's pretty beat. But you know what the plan is here. We're going to transfer everything from this truck except for the body. Comes with air conditioning, power brakes. I know I said I don't do computer vehicles, but if all this is just transferring it over, how hard can it be? We shall see. Actually, the body's in pretty good shape. I feel bad about cutting it up, but you know, it's bought as a donor vehicle. Got just over $1,000 into this. It would cost almost twice that for a new transfer case. So we're going to make this our donor vehicle, and we're going to get that old Willys back on the road. If you think I'm beyond putting that 4-cylinder in that Willys, you're wrong. The chassis itself is what really I wanted, you know, but I think just to make her a cruiser, I think we can stick that 4-cylinder in here and make it work. You know, I don't see why we couldn't. So I got to take some measurements. I know the wheelbase is just a little longer, but given the size of the fenders in the front of this thing, I don't really think you're going to notice it that much. And if you do, you know, we might have to do a frame reduction per se. But I'm going to do some measurements, width and length, and make sure this thing's going to sit down on there the way it's supposed to. I'm sure it will, and if it doesn't, we will make it work. I think where we go from here is I got the 18 gauge metal finally came. We're going to come in here and we're going to start cutting out these floors and replacing the floors. Going to try to do a little bead rolling. Never done it before, but you know what? We're going to give it a try. What's the worst that can happen? We screw it up, then we have to buy panels. I think starting tomorrow, fresh, come out here, start cutting these floors out, all the bad stuff, cut all the bad areas out, and start fabricating some floor pans. All right, so after much pondering, I have decided before we start doing any kind of body work to this thing that we need to get it back up in the air. We need to get this S10 stripped down, all the body panels off, and roll it up underneath this body to see exactly how this thing is going to fit and what modifications we're going to need to do to make it fit. I know the body mount thing is going to be different. We're just going to have to put our own body mounts in there. But as far as having everything line up and knowing exactly how this is going to fit, and if that frame needs to be shortened, I hope it doesn't. I hope we can make it work the way it is. The difference in the wheelbase is like 3.5, 3¾ inches, I think, because those fenders are so big that you might not notice it. But we're not going to know anything until we get the S10 chassis rolled in here and get this body on top of it to kind of do a mock-up to see exactly what we need to do. So I think first order of business, gathering up some tools, heading out in the yard and start stripping that thing down. Better yet, you know what I think we ought to do is we ought to get that thing lined right up here, so that when we get it stripped, all we gotta do is push it in as opposed to dragging it all around the yard. Let's do that. Let's get it driven over here and backed up here, and we'll get her stripped down. she's a little rough, but she does run, drive, and stop. So there's definitely a lot of work to do. So let's get to it, man. Anybody need some rust-free S10 fenders, hit me up. This one's pretty much rust-free too. Got a little wing ding in it, but still good. I think we ought to take some preliminary measurements from the firewall to the core support, see what it was on the Jeep, and then see what it is on here, see if we have to make any adjustments there. Just by eyeballing, it looks pretty close. Right there is where she mounts on the firewall. And right there is where the core support is. So roughly 38 inches. Oh yeah, we got plenty of room. Plenty of room. We got a few inches to spare actually in there, the way it looks. Width, it might be a little tough stuffing all of this underneath that little Willy's front end. So, just to try to stuff all of this in here, we're going to need at least, I'm going to call it 56 inches. I think that's going to be a little tight. Yeah, we're going to be about 6-7 inches, a little too narrow here. So we're going to have to do some stuffing. We're going to have to do some finagling to make all of that stuff fit. I think it can be done. We'll know better when we get the chassis in here and get the body on it, and we'll mock up the fenders and everything and see, you know, exactly how this will play out. I'd like to get the box off. That'll probably do it for today if we can get that box off, and then tomorrow it's going to be a nightmare trying to get all the wiring through the dash, get the dash pulled out, get the cab pulled off. So it'll be quite an adventure, I'm sure. Let me see how far we can get with this box today, and then we'll just pick it back up again tomorrow. I crawled up underneath there to try to torque on some of those bolts, and they're typical, you know. So we hit them with some coil. We'll let that coil sit overnight. We'll pull the box off tomorrow. We'll start pulling the interior out tomorrow. Get the doors pulled off of it. The hood's already loose. So far everything's looking good. It's coming apart pretty easily. We'll talk a little bit about the people that are going to get angry because I didn't bring this Jeep back to life with their original parts. Yeah, that was kind of like, to be honest with you, when I first saw this Jeep, my first thought was chassis swap. But I talked to a few people, and you know, kind of made sense to, if I could put it back to original, it's going to be worth more money. But you know how that went. So quite honestly, the boss said we're not remortgaging the house to put this thing back together. The parts for this thing are just too expensive, and it's one of those deals where once you dig into it, when one thing's wrong, you might as well replace everything, because everything's 70 years old. And I should have known better. I don't build hot rods, I build cruisers. And my job is to put this 55 Willys back on the road. We're sacrificing an S10 to save a Willys. I think it's a good trade-off. I know people are going to scoff at the 2.2 liters of raging power underneath the hood, but you know what? If it moves the thing down the road, that's really all I care about. If somebody can enjoy it, to take it to ice cream on Friday nights or car cruises, or, you know, that's really what I do this for. You know, looking at it this way, we don't have to buy a wiring harness. We don't have to buy anything because this thing's pretty much ready to go. We will do some front end parts, brakes, of course. You know, we want to make sure that's all up to par. So I guess we'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, getting the box off, getting the interior out, maybe the doors off. Maybe this thing's stripped down enough where we can just pick our Jeep back up, get it back up on the large jack stands, and try to roll this chassis up underneath and just see where we're at. All right, so I spent a little time this morning getting our body raised back up, getting ready to slide the chassis underneath. So let's pick up right where we left off yesterday, tearing this S10 down. Might be something we can put in the old Willys, huh? Kicker sound system. We'll see. She's not real heavy, but she's bulky and awkward. I'm just trying to figure out the best way not to get killed trying to get this thing off of here. I tell you, it's rough working by yourself. I think we'd almost be better just to tip up one side and just roll it off. But I'm trying not to beat these body panels up too bad, because the box itself is in pretty good shape. I mean, it does have a little bit of a wing ding there, but underneath, man, I'll tell you what, it's pretty rust free as far as, you know, any kind of rot holes or anything. I'm cutting the bed out. We're going to use it to repair our the back of the Willys here. But the sides, the box itself is in good shape if somebody wanted to throw a new bed in there. Fenders are good, doors are good. I mean, cab is good. There's no rot in it at all. So anybody needs any S10 parts, hit me up, man. Come and get them. Well, there it is. She's off. Don't ask me what I'm going to do with it now. I have no idea, but I started actually working on the cab mounts underneath. One came out pretty easily. The other one, I think, is the nut cert on the top is just spinning, so that's going to be an issue. I am going to have to go get a siphon pump so we can get the gas out of that tank, just so we don't have any accidents. And we might have to cut that body mount out of there with a cutting wheel. But other than that, now at least I can reach this bolt on this side and get a grinder on it or something, and we'll get that bumper off. I guess we're gonna see if the old John Deere has got enough oomph to pull this around back of the garage. I have my doubts. I guess we got to get the F-150 back here to pull this baby around. I just wanted to get it in the back of the garage out of eyesight, I guess. There she is, man. She's got a little bent up. Must have hit a tree root or something, I don't know. But pretty much intact. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna cut the bed out of this and repair our Willy's bed with it. Should work out pretty good. Alright, got the sawzall after that last bolt come off pretty easily. But you can see chassis looks pretty good. She needs a good power washing. But yep. Looking pretty good. Now comes the most fun part of the job. We have to get this dash out of here. Got to label, mark all the wires, where they're going to go, where they come from, how they're going to go back together. So I'll be back in like 3 days when I'm done. All right, just wanted to give you guys a quick update. We are at probably the 4-hour mark. And as you can see, making pretty good time. Got the one seat out. It's like 3 5/8 nuts and one T50 torque. I don't get it, but the one on the driver's side came out, the one on the passenger side not so much. I threw some Croil on it, soaking with Croil to see if I can get that out of there. I got all the harnesses marked. I guess the hardest part will be getting all the harnesses through the firewall without damaging any of them. Hopefully, I mean, if we have to cut some, and we can re-butt splice them together, I suppose, but I'd like to keep everything intact if I can. All right, we're back at it again. Yesterday when I was doing preliminary measurements, I should have done one very important measurement, which would be centering the rear wheel and find out where we're going to end up at the front of our cowl here to see how it's going to line up with what we have here. Measurement, looking at roughly 85 inches. So 85 inches is going to put us right about where the dash stops. So I think that's going to be good. The biggest issue is probably going to be the wheelbase, where the front tires are going to land. That'll let us know, you know, if we have to make a frame adjustment or if we can just run with it the way it is. Today, my goal is to get the rest of this dash out, pull the steering wheel, get the rest of the interior out, then see if we can get the body mounts undone and get this cab off. That's a whole lot to do, so let me get started. We got both doors off. Finally got the steering wheel out. I'm kind of thinking, I don't really know, but I might have to take the windshield out to get the, I don't know if there's bolts in front of this dash, but it's loose on the bottom. And I can't really see any bolts up at the top from looking underneath, but I may have to take the windshield out. We got to do what we got to do to get this thing apart, though. Okay, so we are quickly approaching the end of day 2. Managed to get the interior taken out. Let me tell you something, guys. This truck looks like brand new on the inside. No rust at all. Rust-free cab. Can't go wrong. We got the steering column loose inside here. We got to take it apart from the steering box and just pull that column right out. Managed to get the windshield out. I tried, believe it or not, I tried to get it out and save it. Yeah, that wasn't happening. Let me tell you something, this glue is some strong stuff. I know they make like a wire that you can heat up and saw through it or whatever, but I think you need 2 people to do that, so I'm just one guy out here. I used the second preferred method, which was big old hammer. Wasn't pretty. I don't recommend you doing that, but that's the only way I could get it out of there. I thought there would be screws on the top of this to take this dash out, but there apparently is not. So I'm not really sure, other than getting the sawzall out. We'll be back at it again tomorrow, day 3 of our teardown. Hopefully we'll get that thing stripped down and inside the garage by the end of the day. That is the goal. Let's see if we can do it. Alright, as you can see, I got an early start here on day 3. Made sure I took my time and fished all the wires through the dash. So I'm hoping by the end of the day that we can get this cab off. I'm hoping. And we got some pretty heavy rain coming in over the weekend, so I'm gonna do my best to get this cab off here. All right, so here's a quick update. We're about at the 4-hour mark of day 3. We got the pedal assembly out, we got the steering column out, so I guess really the only thing left, I'm thinking, is this heating cooling unit. We gotta take some pictures. I think we're gonna have to take pictures of this, because this is all gonna have to get disconnected, label all that stuff. We should be almost ready to pull this thing. Let's see how far we can get. All right, we are nearing the end of the day. I believe she's totally stripped. Got the wire and harness pulled through. Got the body mounts out. So I believe she might be ready to come off. Yep. May have to do the same thing we did with the box and just try to roll it off. I mean, I don't know how else to do this by myself, but so I guess what my idea is to keep blocking it up to get it high enough so we can kind of pick it up and roll it over maybe. It's the only thing I can think to do, you know, by myself. So I'll block it up a little bit higher, make sure everything is good. Nothing is attached, and we're looking good. Did forget one thing: emergency brake cable. Problem solved. All right, I've got it 2 blocks up all the way around. I guess I'm gonna keep going, I guess. See what happens. Biggest dilemma here is I'm trying to get it up over the shifter. So we get to a certain point, I think we can just push it over. But it's getting a little sketchy. I won't lie, it's getting a little sketchy. That's how it's done. I'm just joking, man. Don't ever try to do that. That was really stupid. Stupid and irresponsible. Now we gotta drag this thing out back. But there she is, man. All we gotta do is try to get it in the garage up underneath this Willys and start connecting things up. Hopefully it goes back together the way it's supposed to, but I don't know, we shall see. All right, I guess we're ready to try to slide her up underneath there. I think I got it up high enough. Let's see what we got. All right, guys, there she is. Good news is we've got the rear wheel centered almost where it has to be, and it doesn't look like we're gonna have to cut anything off. It's a little cockeyed right now. You can see this one sticks out a little farther, but I think we can bolt the bumper right onto there. The shifter looks like it lines up pretty good. The only problem I'm seeing is right here. There's an awful lot of room in there. I have a feeling we might have to shorten this chassis like 3 inches. Let me go grab one of the fenders. We'll just kind of hold it up there and see what it looks like. That'll give us a better idea of what we're actually looking at. All right, it's not ideal, but you can kind of see where this fender has to be, and we are quite a bit of ways from where we need to be in the front. It kind of looks to me like we're going to be quite a bit short, actually. I know the wheelbase was like 3.5 inches longer, but it seems much longer than that to me. Maybe just the way the truck was set up. So I'm sure once we lower it down on top of the chassis that it might come forward a little bit. I know one thing we're going to have to do. We're going to have to cut this filler neck out of here and put it in over here, which shouldn't be too big of a deal. But we got the S10 broke down, and I'll tell you what a wiring nightmare. You'd need all this wiring to run a little pickup truck, but that's why I don't really like doing modern vehicles. I try to stay away from the computers. It's just ridiculous. If worse comes to worse and we can't get this thing running off this computer, we always have our standby small block we can throw on there and make her an actual hot rod. So I guess that's going to do it for this week. Next week we'll get this thing dropped down on the chassis and figure out what we got to do to shorten this thing or whatever. As always, I appreciate you guys watching. At this point, I'm not sure Jeep people want to see this anymore, but if you know somebody that might be interested in the video, share it with them. Leave me a comment. And until next time, man, take it easy.